Hey kids, this is Timothy Crosby from the Timothy Crosby and Family Children's Time channel. That's a mouthful. Hope everybody's in their PJs, ready for the late afternoon or good night time. I have another read for you. This one is Matilda, Ronald Dahl. Roald Dahl. Okay. Roald Dahl has done it again. Matilda will surely go straight to children's heart. From the New York Book Review. Now this was written in the 1960s and then republished. This was the 1988 version. It has some little drawings in the book. It's a 214-page book, so it's a rather long book. I'm not reading the whole thing. Okay, let me tell you about Matilda. Matilda is a sweet 5-year-old genius with horrible, mean parents. Fortunately, she has a great time giving them what they deserve. But at school, things are different. At school, there's Miss Trunchbull, 200 pounds of kid-hating headmistress, giving Miss Trunchbull what she deserves will take more than a genius. It will take a superhuman genius. Okay. There's a lot of chapters in this book, and like I said, it's 214 pages. So, you see the little drawing right here of Matilda. Well, illustrated by Creighton Blake. It's the Puffin book. Okay, here's the table of contents. It's quite long. Okay, I put check marks of what I actually am going to read. The Reader of Books, The Hat and the Super Glue, Arithmetic, Miss Honey, Miss Trunchbull, The Parents. I might read the part about the cake. I'm going to read Miss Honey's Cottage, Miss Honey's Story, and The New Home. Alright kids, let's do the read. Matilda.
Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck one, the mouse ran down. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock, the bird looked at the clock. The clock struck two, away she flew. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock, the dog barked at the clock. The clock struck three, fiddly-dee. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock.
Okay, let's introduce the kids. Introducing Matilda, Michael, Miss Honey, that's said this drawing. Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood. Who's forgotten? He's the one that eats the cake. Amanda Thip and Miss Trunchbull. Matilda, the reader of books. It's a funny thing about mothers and fathers. Even when their own child is the most disgusting little blister you could ever imagine, they still think that he or she is wonderful. Some parents go farther. They become so blinded by adoration, they manage to convince themselves their child has qualities of a genius. Well, Matilda does have a quality of a genius. She's a math genius. Well, there is nothing very wrong with all this. It's the way of the world. It's only when the parents begin telling us about the brilliance of their revolting offspring that we start shouting. Bring us a basin. We're going to be sick. School teachers suffer a great deal from having to listen to this sort of twaddle from proud parents, but they usually get their own back when the time comes to write the end of term reports. If I were a teacher, I would cook up some real scorchers for the children of doubting parents. Your son, Maximism, I would write, is a total washout. Hope you have a family business you can push him into what he leaves school, because he sure as heck won't get a job anywhere else. Or if we're feeling big that day, I might write, it is a curious truth that grasshoppers have their hearing organs in the sides of the abdomen. Your daughter, Vanessa, judging by what she learned this term, has no hearing organs at all. That's quite mean, is it not? I might even delve deeper into a natural history and say the periodical cicada, which comes out like every 17 years, spent 6 years as a grub underground, no more than 6 days as a free creature of sunlight and air. Your son Wilford has spent 6 years as a grub in the school, and we are still waiting for him to emerge from the chrysalis. A particularly poisonous little girl might sting me into a saying, Fiona has the same glacial beauty as the iceberg. Wow, that is very, very mean. That's like bullying. But unlike the iceberg, she has absolutely nothing below the surface. I think I might enjoy writing end-of-term reports for the stinkers in my class, but enough of that. We have to get on. So there's the drawings of all the little kids in the class and the very mean reports about the children. Okay, but anyway, occasionally one comes across the parents who take the opposite line, who show no interest at all in their children. And that's a shame. And that's what it is about Matilda. The parents are not showing any interest in her at all. Okay. They're saying that ordinary children were scabs and bunions, but it becomes somehow a lot worse when a child in question is extraordinary. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you have to be creative. You have to be a genius within yourself, okay? But Matilda's brother, Michael, was a perfectly normal boy. But the sister, as I said, was something to make your eyes pop. At the age of 1.5, her speech was perfect, and she knew as many words as most grown-ups. The parents, instead of applauding her, called her a noisy chatterbox, and told her sharply that small girls should be seen and not heard. By the time she was 3, Matilda had taught herself to read by studying newspapers and magazines that lay around the house. At the age of 4, she could read fast and well, and she naturally began hankering after books. The only book in the whole of this enlightened household was something called Easy Cooking, belonging to her mother. And she had read this from cover to cover, about all the recipes by heart. She decided she wanted something more interesting. So there she is. She's reading the newspaper down here, okay? That's what she loved to do. She loved to read. Like I'm reading to you. Daddy, she said, you think we can buy me a book? A book, he said. What do you want from a flaming book for? To read, Dad. What's wrong with the telly, for heaven's sake? We've got a lovely telly with a 12-inch screen. And now you come asking for a book? You're getting spoiled, my girl. Telly is the television. Too much TV is bad. We have to balance everything. We have to balance our gaming. We have to balance our TV watching. We have to balance our studies and our reading. Everything has to be real rounded. All right, now she's talking about the librarian, okay? So Matilda's mom was hooked on bingo, and her dad was a used car salesman, okay? Now here's the librarian, Miss Phelps. She asked if she might sit a while and read a book. Mrs. Phelps, slightly taken aback at the arrival of such a tiny girl, unaccompanied by a parent, nevertheless told her she was very welcome. Where are the children's books, please? Matilda asked. Over there on those lower shelves, Mrs. Phelps told her. Would you like me to help you find a nice one with lots of pictures in it? No, thank you, Matilda said. I'm sure I can manage. And from then on, in the afternoon, as soon as her mother had left for bingo, Matilda would toddle down to the library. The walk only took 10 minutes, and this allowed her 2 glorious hours sitting quietly by herself in a cozy corner to read every single children's book in the place. But Mrs. Phelps has been watching her in fascination for the past few weeks. Now get from her desk and went over to her. So she got up and went over. Can I help you, Matilda? She asked. I'm waiting to read next, Matilda said. I'm finished with all the children's books. You mean you've looked at all the pictures? Yes, but I read the books as well. So she loved to read, not just look at the pictures, but to read them. Miss Phelps looked down at Matilda from her great height, and Matilda looked right back up at her. I thought some were very poor, Matilda said, but others were lovely. I like the secret garden best of all. It was full of mystery. The mystery of the room behind. Next page. Okay, anyway, this is her reading the book. Here's the librarian. Okay. The secret garden behind the closed door and the mystery of the garden behind the big wall. Miss Phelps was stunned. Exactly how old are you, Matilda, she asked. 4 years and 3 months, Matilda said. Mrs. Phelps was more stunned than ever, but she had the sense not to show it. What sort of book would you like to read next, she asked. But Matilda said, I would like a really good one that grown-ups read. A famous one. I don't know any names. So Mrs. Phelps is looking behind all the shelves. Well, first was to pick young teenagers' romance books, like for 15-year-olds. Right? But for some reason, she found herself instantly walking past a particular shelf. Here she says, try this. It is very famous and very good. If it's too long for you, just let me know and I'll find something shorter and a bit easier. The book was Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I must be mad, Mrs. Phelps told herself, but to Matilda she said, of course you may try it. Over the next few afternoons, Mrs. Phelps could hardly take her eyes from the small girl sitting for hours on end in the big armchair at the far end of the room, and the book on her lap. It was necessary to rest it on her lap because it was too heavy for it to hold up. The book was about a wonderful adventures of Pip and Mrs. Hobson in a cobweb house. And by the spell of magic that Dickens, the great storyteller, had woven with these words. The only movement from Matilda, the reader, was just her flipping the page. So the librarian is watching Matilda and telling her what time it is so she can get home. So she said, it's 10 to 5, Matilda. During the first week of Matilda's visits, Mrs. Phelps had said to her, does your mother walk you down every day and then take you home? My mother goes to Owlsbury every afternoon to play bingo, Matilda said. She doesn't know I come here. But that's surely not right, Mrs. Phelps said. I think you better ask her. I'd rather not, Matilda said. She doesn't encourage reading books, nor does my father. But what do they expect you to do every afternoon? in the empty house. Just mooch around and watch the telly. I see. She doesn't really care what I do, Matilda said, a little sadly. Mrs. Phelps was concerned about the child's safety on the walk through the really busy village high street and the crossing of the road, but she decided not to interfere. Within a week, Matilda had finished Great Expectation, only in 1 week. That's a big, big book, which in addition contained 411 pages. 411. This one's 214. Okay. I loved it, she said to Mrs. Phelps. Has Mr. Dixon written any others? A great number, she said, astonished. Mrs. Phelps should choose another. So over the next 6 months, Matilda read Nicholas Nickleby by Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, Jane Eyre, Pride and Prejudice, Tess of the Novellas by Thomas Hardy, and Pride and Prejudice was by Jane Austen. Gone to Earth by Mary Webb, Kim by Rudyard Kipling, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, The Sound and the Fairy by William Faulkner, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, The Great Companions by J.B. Presley, Brighton Rock by Graham Greene, and Animal Farm by George Orwell. So she read all these books. So now Mrs. Phelps was talking to Matilda. Did you know, Mrs. Phelps said, that public libraries like this allow you to borrow books and take them home? I didn't know that, Matilda said. Could I do it? Of course, Mrs. Phelps said. When you have chosen the book you want, bring it to me so I can make a note of it. It's yours for 2 weeks. You can take more than one if you wish. From then on, Matilda would visit the library only once a week in order to take out a new book and return it to the old ones. So there she is. She's sitting there in her room now, reading. And that's what she's been doing. Reading, reading, and reading. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Alright. I'll skip ahead a little. I'm going to skip ahead because this is a long book. And I told you I was going to skip some chapters. Alright. I have read this whole book before, though. Now, Matilda's getting in a little argument with her father because all her father wants her to do is watch TV. Put the books down and watch TV. And also arguing about the food in the house because the food is poor quality. Okay. Matilda, who had been listening closely, said, "But Daddy, that's even more dishonest than the sawdust. It's disgusting. You're cheating people who trust you. He's putting sawdust on the car to fill up gaps, to cover up rust, to do all these different things. And now he's doing more dishonest things to the vehicles. And Matilda doesn't like that, okay? Because next I'm going to get to the hat and the glue. It's dirty money, Matilda said. I hate it. Two red spots appear on the father's cheeks. Who the heck are you to think you are? He shouted. The Archbishop of Canterbury or something preaching to me about honesty? You're just an ignorant little squirt who hasn't the foggiest idea what you're talking about. Quite right, Harry, the mother said. And to Matilda, she said, you've got a nerve talking to your father like that. Now keep your nasty mouth shut so we can watch the programming on the TV in peace. And so there they all are. And Matilda's forced to watch the TV because they were supposed to put a book down. And there they all are watching the TV and then the argument about the dealership and the food and her reading the books. Let's skip some more. The hat and the super glue. The following morning, just before the father left for his blessed second-hand car garage, Matilda slipped in the cloakroom and got a hold of a hat he wore each day to work. Uh-oh. She took the hat, she used a stick, and she took the hat off the peg. It was a flat-top pork pie jobs with Jay's feather stuck in the hat band, and Mr. Wormwood was very proud of it, so it was his favorite hat. He thought it gave him a backish, daring look, especially when he wore it at an angle with his large-cheek jacket and a green tie. Matilda, holding the hat in one hand, had a thin tube of super glue in the other. Proceeding to squeeze a line of glue very neatly all around the inside rim, the inside part of the hat. Then she carefully hooked the hat back onto the peg with the walking stick she used to take it down. She timed this operation very carefully because she didn't want the glue to dry before Father put it on her head. So she put the glue around it just as her father was getting up from the breakfast table. Mr. Wormwood didn't notice anything when he put the hat on. When he arrived at the garage, he couldn't get it off. Super glue in very powerful stuff, so powerful it will take your skin off. Uh-oh. If you pull too hard. Mr. Wormwood didn't want to be scuffed, so he had to keep the hat on the head the whole day long, even when putting sawdust in gearboxes and fiddling around with the car's engines. So he would take the engine and he would roll back the mileage and he would cheat people. He was a very dishonest man. Very dishonest. Okay, so when he got home that evening, he still can't get the hat off. Don't be silly, his wife said. Come here, I'll take it off for you. The kid that had a sharp yank. Mr. Wormwood let out a yell that rattled the window panes. Ow! He said. He screamed it. Don't do that, let go. Okay. Wow, the camera cut off, so this is, like I said, this is a very long read. I might have to share this in two sections. I might go Matilda 1, Matilda 2. It's going to take a while to read this. I believe I was talking about the hat, and I was talking about the mother cutting the hair. All right. Then Matilda's at the breakfast table, and she's having the breakfast. Okay. The breakfast Matilda said to him, "You must try to get these bits off your forehead, Daddy. It looks as though you've gotten a little brown insects crawling about all over you. People will think you have got lice." "Be quiet," the father snapped. "Just keep your nasty mouth shut, will you?" All in all, it was most satisfactory exercise, but it was surely too much to hope that he had taught the father a permanent lesson. All right. So she did that with good intentions that she felt was good, even though it was a bad thing to do. But she was trying to teach him a lesson, not to be so evil, not to cheat people, not to put sawdust around the engine, and not to turn the mileage back on the cars. She was just trying to teach him a lesson. Okay. All right, and then there's the ghost, and I'm going to show you the pictures of the ghost. Okay, look at the first picture. I'm just going to show you the pictures here, because I guess I'm going to be skipping quite a bit now. So she's somehow trying to haunt the house, to teach the parents a lesson for being so mean to her. She's sticking something in the fireplace. No, that's not good. But it makes an echo, okay? And so the dad's his glove gloves. "Oh, the house is haunted. What's going on here?" And the mom and the little boy and Matilda. Arithmetic. So I am going to skip around quite a bit here. Try to do this all in one read. That was my plan, okay? Matilda longed for her parents, so that way if you do fall asleep while I'm reading, you can go to the next section. Right now I'm on the section called Arithmetic, okay? So Matilda, she longed for her parents to be good and loving and understanding and honorable and intelligent. That's all a child can hope for, really, and a parent. The fact was, none of these things was something she had put up with. So she just put up with it, okay? But she has a new game she invented. The punishing one of both of them each time they went beastly to her, beastly or mean to her. And this made her life more bearable. The only power that Matilda had was brain power. With sheer cleverness, she would run rings around the marble. But the fact remained that any 5-year-old girl in the family was always obligated to do as she was told. However, as ashamed to others might be, thus she was always forced to eat her evening meals out of TV dinner trays in front of the dreaded box, the TV. She always had to stay alone on weekday afternoons, and whenever she was told to shut up, she had to shut up. The safety valve, the only thing that prevented her from going around the bend, was the fun of devising and dishing out those splendid punishments. And the lovely thing is she she did that seemed to work. At any rate, for short periods, the father particularly became less cocky and unbearable for several days after receiving a dose of Matilda's medicine. Magic medicine is what she called it. The parrot and the chimney affair quite definitely cooled both parents down a lot for over a week. So that's what she did. That's what she was sticking in the chimney. It wasn't just it was the parrot thing, the parrot cage. So, well, father was civil and nice to the small daughter, Matilda. But the next flare came on the evening of the sitting room. Mr. Wormwood had just returned from work. Matilda and her brother were sitting quietly on the sofa waiting for the mother to bring the TV dinners on a tray. The television had not yet been switched on. It came Mr. Wormwood in a loud check suit and a yellow tie. So, and he comes, okay? The appalling broad orange and green checkerboard jacket and the trousers almost blinded the onlooker. He looked like a low-grade bookmaker dressed up for his daughter's wedding, and it was clearly very pleased with himself this evening. He sat down in the armchair and rubbed his hands together and addressed his son in a loud voice. "Well, my boy," he said, "your brother's had a most successful day. He is a lot richer tonight than he was this morning. He was sold no less than 5 cars, each one at a tidy profit. Sawdust on the gearboxes, the electric drill on the spread on the cables, the splash of paint here and there, we do other clever little tricks, and the idiots were all over themselves to buy." I mean, the dad was just so he fished a paper from his pocket and he started and he goes, "Listen, boy," addressing the son but ignoring Matilda, "seeing as you are going to be in the business with me one day, you got to know how to add up the profits you make at the end of each day. Go and get yourself a pad and pencil, and let's see how clever you are." The son obediently left the room and returned with the writing materials. "Write down these figures," the father said, reading from a bit of paper. "Car number 1 was bought by me for 278 pounds. Pounds is British money. And sold for 1,425. Got that?" The 10-year boy wrote the 2 separate amounts down and slowly and carefully. "Car number 2, father went on, cost me 180 pounds and sold for 760. Got that?" "Yes, Dad," the son said. "I've got that." So there's his dad talking to the boy, his son. "Car number 3 cost 111 pounds and sold for 999 pounds and 50 pence. Say that again," the son said. "How much did it sell for?" 999 pounds and 50 pence. He goes, "I always go just below it. Never say 100,000 pounds. I always say 90, 100, and 99, 5 feet. It sounds much less, but it isn't. Clever, isn't it?" "Very," the son said. "You're brilliant, Dad." Then he goes on and goes on, and the boy can't add it up. He's like, "You're going too fast that I can't add it up." So Matilda adds it up in her head, okay? Matilda said quietly, Dad, you made exactly 4,303 pounds and 50 pence together. Don't butt in, the father said. Your brother and I are busy with high finance. But Dad, shut up, the father said. Stop guessing and trying to be clever. Look at your answer, Dad, Matilda said gently. If you've done it right, it ought to be 4,303 pounds and 50 pence. Is that what you got, Dad? The father glanced down at the paper in the hand. He seemed to stiffen. He became very quiet. There was silence. Then he said, say that again. 4,303 pounds 50, Matilda said. There was another silence. Father's face was beginning to go dark red. I'm sure it's right, Matilda said. You little cheat, the father suddenly shouted, putting it over with his fingers. You looked at my bit of paper, read it from what I've got written here. Daddy, I'm on the other side of the room, Matilda said. How could I possibly have seen it? Don't give me that rubbish, the father shouted. Of course you looked. You must have looked. No one in the world could give the right answer just like that. Especially a girl. You're a little cheat. Madam, that's what you are. A cheat and a liar. Wow, he was very mean to Matilda. At that point, the mother came in carrying a large tray in which the 4 suppers. This time it was fish and chips, which Mrs. Wormwood had picked up in the fish and chip shop on the way home from bingo. What are you looking so wet in the face about, Harry? The mother's asking her husband. She said, as she put the tray down on the coffee table. Your daughter's a cheat and a liar, the father said, taking a piece of fish and placing it on his knees. Turn the telly on and let's have more talk. No more talk. So Matilda plays the blonde joke on the father, where he puts like dye in the hair products. And the many other jokes that she did. And then there she is with another book.
All right, kids, have a good night. That is the end of part 1. I'll see you tomorrow night for part 2, and we'll continue the read. Hope you're enjoying the Matilda Read so far, and be kind to each other. Have a good night.
I'm going to read the part about the teacher. Alright, and then I'm going to read about the part where they go to Mrs. Trunchbull's house and place the trick on her. And then I'm going to read about each other's new home. And that's all I'm going to do in this one.
Hickory dickory dock, the bear sat by the clock. The clock struck 4. He ran out the door. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock.
Matilda was a little late in starting school. So she finally gets to go to school. Remember, you've seen the movie Matilda, the original. uh, she's begging and begging her dad that she wants to go to school. And now she finally gets to go to school. Most children begin primary school at 5 or even just before. But to tell his parents who weren't very concerned one way or the other about their daughter's education, have forgotten to make the proper arrangements in advance. Normally until it was put in a bottom class where there were 18 other small boys and girls about the same age. The teacher was called Mrs. Honey. And when that's what she had to go to the to a lower class because of her age, even though she's a genius. Okay. The teacher was called Mrs. Honey. She was not. She could not have been more than 23 or 24. She had lovely, pale, oval, Madonna face with blue eyes, and hair was a light brown. Her body was so slim and fragile, one got to feeling that if she fell over, she would smash into 1,000 pieces like a porcelain figurine. Miss Jennifer Honey was a mild and quiet person who never raised her voice and was seldom seen to smile. But there is no doubt she possessed the rare gift for being adored by every small child in her care. She seemed to understand totally the bewilderment and fear that often overwhelmed young children, who for the first time in their lives are herded into a classroom and told to obey orders. Superior warmth that was almost tangible shone out of Mrs. Honey's face. So she was very kind and caring and gentle and understanding and compassionate to the children that she taught. Mrs. Trunchbull, on the other hand, the headmistress, was something else altogether. She was a gigantic holy terror, a fierce tyrannical monster who frightened the life out of every pupil and teacher alike. And I'm going to skip ahead. So the romance is impossible to describe, but I shall make some attempt to do so later on. That's what Mrs. Honey is saying about Miss Trunchbull. Let us leave her for the moment and go back to Matilda on her first day in Mrs. Honey's class. After the usual business of going through all the names of the children, Mrs. Honey handed out a brand new exercise book to each pupil. You have all brought your own pencils, I hope, she said. Yes, my sonny, they chanted. So there she is. She's handing out the school book, and because everybody has the pencil. Good. Now it's the very first day of school for each of you. It is the beginning of at least 11 long years of schooling you are all going to have to go through, and in 6 of those years will be spent right here at Cruncham Hall. So, for kindergarten to 6th grade. Well, as you know, your headmistress is Miss Trunchbull. Let me, for your own good, tell you something about Miss Trunchbull. She insists upon strict discipline throughout the school, and if you take my advice, you would do your very best to behave yourself in her presence. She said, Mrs. Trunchbull could liquidize you as like a carrot in a kitchen blender. and there's nothing to laugh about. Yes, Miss Honey, chirped eating eager little voices, the children in the classroom. Miss Honey says, I myself want to help you learn as much as possible while you are in this class. That is because I know it will make things easier for you later on. For example, by the end of this week, I shall expect every one of you to know the 2 times table by heart. In years' time, I hope you will know all the multiplication tables up to 12. It will help you enormously if you do. Now then, do any of you happen to have learned the 2 times table? Matilda put up her hand. She was the only one. Miss Honey looked carefully at the tiny girl with dark hair and blonde, serious face sitting in the second row. Well, wonderful, she said. Please stand up and recite as much as you can. Matilda stood up and began to say the 2 times table. She got to twice 12 is 24. She didn't stop. She went right on. Twice 13 is twice 6. Twice 14 is 28. Twice 15 is 30. Twice 16 is, and so on. Stop, Miss Honey said. She had listened slightly spellbound to the smooth recital. And now she said, how far can you go? How far? Matilda said. Well, I really don't know, Miss Honey, for quite as long as I think. Miss Honey took a few moments to let this curious statement sink in. So, because she thinks she can go quite a long way. Miss Honey's like, huh? You mean, she said, you could tell me what 2 times 28 is? Yes, Miss Honey. What is it? 56, Miss Honey. What about something like 2 times 487? I think so, yes, Matilda said. Are you sure? Well, yes, Miss Honey. I'm fairly sure. What is it then? 2 times 487? 974, Matilda said immediately. She spoke quietly and politely and without any sign of showing off. That is very well splendid, she said. But, of course, multiplying by 2 is a lot easier than some of the bigger numbers. What about the other multiplication tables? Know any of those? I think so, Miss Honey. I think I do. Which ones, Matilda? How far can you go? I don't know, Matilda said. I think I know what you mean. What I mean is, do you, for instance, know the 3 times table? Yes, Miss Honey. The 4 times? Yes, Miss Honey. How many do you know, Matilda? Do you know all the way up to the 12 times? Yes, Miss Honey. What about the 12? 7. 84, Matilda said. Miss Honey paused and leaned back on a chair behind the plain table that stood in the middle of the floor in front of the class. She was considerably shaken by the exchange, but took care not to show it. She had never come across a 4-year-old before, or indeed a 10-year-old who could multiply with such faculty. So basically, Matilda was a genius. Alright, so I am going to go on. So Matilda goes on and on with all the multiplication table. The whole Miss Honey's fair and pleasant face flushed brilliant scarlet. I mean, she was like very happy that she had a genius in the room. So now, just would type Arithmetic, which is like a writing. So she stood up, and the thing, we all ask about Jenny, but surely there cannot be many young girls in this place with so lovely a face. The answer to that is not any. The teacher said, "Why, thank you, Matilda." Still smiling. "Although it's not two, it's very good limerick. Oh dear, I must try to remember that one." And Miss Honey's asking Matilda about books. And she goes, "Who taught you to read?" Miss Honey asked. "I just sort of taught myself, Miss Honey." She taught herself to read. "And you have read any books all by yourself, any children's book, I mean?" "I've read all the ones from the public library in the High Street, Miss Honey." "Did you like them?" I like them very much indeed," Matilda said. "But I thought others were fairly dull." "Tell me what you like." "I like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe," Matilda said. "I think Mr. C.S. Lewis is a very good writer, but here's one failing. There are no funny bits in his books." "You're right there," Miss Honey said. "There aren't many funny bits in Mr. Tolkien's either," Matilda said. "You think about all the children's books ought to have funny bits in them?" Miss Honey asked. "I do," Matilda said. "Children are not so serious as grown-ups, and they love to laugh." And then Matilda says at the end, "I'm very fond of Charles Dickens," Matilda said. "He makes me laugh a lot, especially Mr. Pickwick." At the moment the bell in the corridor sounded, and it was the end of the class. Well, and then that's the Chunch Bowl. How she's really, really mean. And there's the teacher, Miss Honeywell. And Miss Honey goes to the parents' house to give Matilda some higher learning books, way beyond her age, and some math books and other materials. And the dad says, "Has Matilda been trouble to you already?" And Miss Honey says, "She is no trouble at all. I have come with good news about her. Quite startling news," Miss Woman said. "You think I might come in for a..." Mr. Woman said, "You think I might come in for a few minutes to talk to you about Matilda?" So, Miss So, I hope that's good. This third part. I know most of the kids are probably asleep right now. This is a long read. I'm going to get to the end of this. I'm going to just show you guys the pictures of Miss John Morrow and the planks that they show at the house. And then I'm going to talk about Matilda's new home. Okay. I was talking about Matilda's parents and how mean they were to her. And I was talking about the university. Who wants to go to the university, for heaven's sake? Okay? And I go, all they do is learn bad habits. And Miss Honey said, "That's not true. If they had a heart attack this minute, and could call a doctor, that doctor would be the university graduate. If he got sued for selling someone a second-hand car, he'd have to get a lawyer and he'd be a university graduate. Do not despise clever people, Mr. Wormwood, but I can see you're not going to agree. I'm sorry, but I burst into like this. Miss Honey rose from her chair and walked out of the room. Mr. Wormwood followed her to the front door and said, "Good of you to come, Miss Hawk." "It's Miss Harris." "It's neither," Miss Honey said. "Let it go." And away she went. Now the next part was throwing the hammer. If you watch the movie, Miss Trunchbull did the hammer throw. Trunchbull did the hammer throw. Here's some more pictures in here. And this is the story, the imaginary story being told by Mrs. Honey herself to Matilda. And Matilda is flying and doing all these different things. And now, so Matilda is actually, one of the kids is actually flying. Miss Trunchbull was very, very mean. She would break into the class and do these mean things to children and put them in these little trap door things and close these doors on them in these very scary looking rooms with nails on them and stuff. So very, very mean. And so they're talking about Mrs. Trunchbull and some of the things that they suspect that they did to the kids, like throwing this one boy out the window because he was the same weight as the hammer. So it wasn't Matilda story, I'm sorry. And how she would scold the kids. And if the kids did not obey, remember in the movie that one little girl had the long hair, and Miss Trunchbull grabbed the hair and threw the little girl. And then she landed in the field. And then the boy with the cake, he was forced to eat the cake because he was accused of stealing one of the desserts from one of the teachers or something. And Miss Trunchbull calls the boy up, acting really nice to him. And they bring this one cake out. And then they force him to eat it. And but on all the kids start chatting like, you can do it, because if he didn't eat the cake, he was going to be put in one of those scary rooms with the nails and stuff. That's really dark. And so all the children are happy that the boy did it. So it's a test. Mrs. Trunchbull and Mrs. is going to test the students. Okay, so to go to word of warning to you all. Miss Honey said, "Enemies are very strict about everything. Make sure your clothes are clean, your faces are clean, and your hands are clean. Speak only when spoken to, and they ask you a question. If she asks you a question, stand up once before you answer it. Never argue with her, never answer back, never try to be funny. If you do, you will make her angry. You had those kids who hanging you, they better watch out. You can see that again, having to remember. I'm quite sure Miss Honey said that she will be testing you on with your next had learned this year. Lavender was one of the other little girls in the class. I think she was the one that had the Miss Trustbrook grabbed her hair and twirled her around to her. He said the whole thing's a wrong read. Oh, here's the part about the frog. If you've seen the movie, uh, like a frog type creature, and they find it, and it gets into the water pail. And when they pour the Trustbrook goes in, they pour the pail, and then the frog is in the glass. Miss Trustbrook does the weekly test. And if the boy people don't answer right, she's very strict and mean to him. See, look, see how mean she is? She'll give all the little kids by their ears and hair. And then there's the miracles. The first was in the water. And it suddenly spills out. So Matilda is part of her mind. Because she's not only a genius, but she's also part of her mind. So she actually knocked that water glass over. And she's telling Miss Honey, I did it, Miss Honey. I knocked the glass over with my mind. And then Miss Honey is trying to get her to prove it. And then she knocks the glass over, the empty one over. And they go to Mrs. Honey's cottage to learn. Miss Honey actually ends up adopting Matilda at the end. You know, she goes to the cottage, and she just loved hanging with Miss Honey, and how kind she was to her, Matilda, the genius child. Missed the cottage. It was just too much to read, so I'm kind of skipping with the pictures. Missed the cottage. Matilda goes to the well. And Miss Honey's very kind and makes her a lunch. Miss Honey tells her story to Matilda. And Matilda is practicing her magic. I talked about the miracles. Now Matilda is practicing. She's practicing moving things on her stand, on her dresser, with her mirrors. Now she's whispering to herself, lift, 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 she whispers, lift, lift. So she's lifting, and someone puts foot and says, and she's focusing, she's focusing, she's focusing. Now the third miracle, this transport is being mean to the children again. Okay. But Matilda, with the magic, mixed the chalk meat, and it starts right in the woods. Agatha transfer. Agatha, this is a Magnus. This is Magnus. This is Magnus. And you better believe it. See? So she's making a chalk move. Agatha, give me Jenny back her house. Because this transport, one part that I was going to read to you, but it was quite long. Matilda sneaks into Mitch Transport's house and finds out that it was really Jenny, Honeywell's house, and Matilda did not like that. So now she's doing her third miracle. Okay, so give Jenny back the house. Give Jenny her wages. Give Jenny the house. Then get out of here. And don't. And if you don't, I will come and get you. I will come and get you. Like you got me. I am watching you, Agatha. So that scared the heck out of the mistress, out of the headmistress of the school. So, of course, Miss Honey, or Honeywell, and one of the other Matilda books I have, Honey or Honeywell, gets her house back and becomes the leader of the school and makes it a school for the gifted. And this Miss Principal, she faints. She faints. And I'm not going to leave the new home, but I'm going to show you the pictures again. That's 224. There's Matilda right there at the new home. And with Miss Honey, who adopted her. And the parents are leaving. They're trying to get away because the law is after them. They got in trouble for all the scams that they did and all the bad things that they did. So the law is after them. They're trying to flee. But Matilda does not come with them. She stays with Miss Honey and lives happily ever after, learning how to use her gifts for good instead of bad. So she starts doing pranks on people. And there's Matilda and Miss Honey. Yeah. And she lived happily, basically happily ever after. That ain't what it says, but she stopped using her gifts and stopped doing those bad pranks. And then it got her actual house back, and Matilda got to live with her, with a parent that loved her and respected her, and loved her for who she was her genius mind and her ability to move things with her mind. And it's no matter if you're a genius or if you struggle in life, we always need somebody to love us and support us. And that's the moral of this story. We always need somebody to love us and support us for who we are, and to respect us for who we are. I know it was a long one, kids. It's probably the next day, the next night for you guys. I hope you guys have a a good night, and I hope you enjoyed the Matilda